Good morning.
Good
Today
morning.
we are going to focus our attention on one of the poems written by Philip Larkin entitled Next Please. The name of the poem is Next Please. These two words are quite familiar with us. These two words are not new. We know the meaning of both of these words. Next means it's about future, and please is request. So it's a humble request by the poet to talk of the future. If we have the literal meaning of the poem entitled Next Please. The title itself is very suggestive, meaningful, because it talks about the sense of the present, past, and future, and the aim of a man. It's all about life, it's all about the inevitability of time, it's about the mortality of humankind and immortality of the nature. So let's see what the poet says in this poem. Actually, Philip Larkin's Next Please mirrors life. It talks about life. It is all about the life and death. See, nothing is in the hand of man. Man is just a puppet which is being played by God, the supreme power. So, next please is nothing but a deep meditation on time, life, eternity. And it is all about the inevitability of death. This death is unavoidable, death is inevitable, which cannot be forgotten by us. So, here in this poem, Philip Larkin talks about the people. What do the people do? The people spend so much of their time, energy on the future. That's why there is a beautiful quotation: forget the past and press on the greater achievements of the future. Our life is meddled with two things, that is, the past and the future. Man is not happy because of two times. One is the past and the second is future. See, we are not happy in this life. Why? Because we are always thinking of the past. We think of the future, right? I'm talking in the sense of ecstasy. That's why William Shakespeare has rightly stated the fact about the human sorrow or the grief, it is all about the past regrets and future fears. Past regrets means you always say that I should not have done that, but I did it. You repent, you remorse, you feel melancholy. That's important. And the second thing is future fears. The future is unpredictable. No one knows about the future. we blindly step into the future and sense the presence with the memory of the past in our mind. This is what the life is all about. Whenever I talk about life, I have some glimpses of some events. For example, you got stuck into a crowded place wherein there are so many people. There is a rush of people who are walking on the road. So, here, as you step forward, you step in the future. Every step is in the future. Suppose you say that, sir, I am very experienced. Yes, it's true. You are experienced, you are talented, but still, every step in the future is novel. Every step in the future is new. It brings new shades of life to everyone. Maybe it's an old person, an intelligent person, a scientist, a theorist, a philosopher, whatever he may be. But the life is the same for all. That is enigmatical, mysterious. So here the poet argues that people spend too much time fixed on the future. People talk about the future. And it's a man who always forgets to live in the present. We hardly live in the present because our presence is occupied by the past and the future. Our present is controlled and monitored by the past and the future. So we cannot get rid of them. In this poem, the poet looks at the people who have wasted their present. Here, many people, they have wasted their present because they wait for the unpredictable future, which never comes. There is a one drama that is waiting for Godot. Just the character waits for the person who never comes. Godot, who never comes. This is something like that. This is a sheer absurdity of life. In an incredibly depressing poem, the poet Philip Larkin implores the reader to focus on the present before it's too late. That's why the poet wants us to keep our time, energy focused on the present only, not the past, not the future. What is important is your activity in the present time. That saves your life. Because most of the times we talk nonsensical things in the past, right? We waste our time talking about the future. It's of no use most of the times. And that gives you stress and tensions. So that's why live in the present, the poet says. Here, he says one thing, that you should not forget to live in the present. You should learn to be in the present, focusing on the present before it gets too late. So, there are some important stylistic elements that one can find it out in Next Please. Next Please talks about the extended metaphor of shapes in the distance representing the future. There is a metaphor, the extended metaphor of ships in the distance representing the future. Look at the ship, how it is. It has its own beginning, the middle, and the end also. You can sense two tenses, the present and the future, all together, looking at the ship. So there is a distance, there is a destination for the voyage of the ships. That is the future. This far off armada is glorified with Larkin's imagery, painting the sort. Future as something remarkable and beautiful. So here he talks of the future, although it is unpredictable, most of the times the future seems to be very striking, very remarkable, dazzling, or beautiful. It attracts the mind, it attracts us. The poet talks about the people who are resting on the shores of the present, looking out over an ocean, looking for their futures. So whenever I go through this poem, I remember my days I spent in Maldives. I was in Maldives for 3 years. I was not in India because I have already experienced what the poet says here. I know the life of Robinson Crusoe, how he spent his life on the uninhabited island. It's a novel by Daniel Defoe, Robinson Crusoe. Robinson Crusoe is a novel that talks about a boy who journeys from the civilization to the savagery. So here in this context, I must say that I used to stand on the shore, seashore, and also I used to think of the future. See, whenever you are on the seashore, on the beach, you know, you are on the beach, you must sense the present rather than the past and future. Just looking at the beautiful waves on the seashore, just looking at the drops, the dancing drops, the dews, waves, the beauty of nature, you become melancholic or disappointed by thinking of the future, which never comes. Future never comes to you. You reach the future. So how interesting it is. So here the poet suggests one thing repeatedly, that you should forget the past and press on the greater achievements of the future. Here I saw many people waiting on the shores of the present, looking out over an ocean, longing for their futures. You long for the future and you miss the present, right? You miss the present and you long for the future. Larkin continues his extended metaphor until the end of the poem, where he flips the connotations of the device, and instead of representing promise, the ship in stanza number 5 of this poem is used to represent death. What's the future? The future is the death. What's the future? The future is the death. And what death is it? Is it the death of the body, death of the spirit, death of the mind? What it is exactly? That is still uncertain. And this sudden change or a radical change from the glorified future to the harsh actuality of approaching death is incredibly depressing. The poet says that it's absolutely incredible to talk of the future. So the future is glorified, the future is tensed, the future hides harsh actuality of approaching death, which is absolutely or incredibly depressing. So, this sudden change from the glorified future to the harsh reality of approaching death is depressing. So, the title of this poem is very unique, very meaningful, very suggestive. So, it's very effective as well. Here, the poet summarizes the sense of urgency of the people who feel within the poem. Larkin categorizes the character of the poem, indeed we, as impatiently waiting for the future to arrive. He uses the character we. He categorizes the characters of the poem, indeed we, as impatiently waiting for the future to arrive. The use of the imperative next is very suggestive. It talks about a tone of impatience, with the title demanding the arrival of the future. See, here in this poem, the poet uses next. It's a tone of impatience, right? Who wants to know about the future? Those people who are eager to know about the future, who are impatient, who are curious, inquisitive. And it demands the arrival of the future. Similarly, or in the same fashion, the people in this poem, they are eagerly waiting for the future. And the poet says that not to think of the future, focus on the present. In this poem, next symbolizes the future. It's a demand for its arrival, suggesting a dangerous disregard of the present. You think of the future means you disregard, dishonor, disrespect the present. Larkin points out the absurdity of asking for the unpredictable future. He says that why are you talking about the unpredictable future, inevitable future, unavoidable future? The future has its own world within. There is the stupidity of asking for the future instead of enjoying the present time. Just enjoy the present, not to think of the future. So while the future does indeed draw closer, so does the inevitability of death. See how beautifully he has conveyed his message. You think of the future means you think of the death, right? You think of the future means you think of the death means you go into the future, you walk into the future. It means you come across death, which is inevitable, which is unavoidable, to which you are going to meet. So here, analysis of the next place in the stanza first, what exactly the poet has stated in his stanza. So as the title is suggestive, it talks about a tone of impatience and which is instantaneously communicated through the word eager within the first line. The poet uses the word eager. And who is eager? The person is eager who is very curious to know about the unknown. Suppose I say, what's your name? What's your name? Sumit.
Sukhad.
Ah, Sukhad. Suppose I say, Sukhad, could you please listen to me and not to open this box? If I say like that to you, then you start thinking, what will be there in the box? What's there in the box? So many questions baffle you. And you want to open the box and see what lies inside. Then again I say, Mr. Sukhad, not to open the box. It is locked. I instructed you.
Yes.
Then again you start thinking something should be there inside. That's why I have been restricted not to open it. So in my absence, what exactly you do? You try to unlock the box and see what is there inside. Your activity symbolizes your impatience. Your activity symbolizes your curiosity. Your action or your activity symbolizes your findings of the unknown because you wanted to see what is there inside the box and you are eager to see that. This can be turned as a tone of impatience. This tone of impatience is continued throughout the next please characterizing the poem. In the first line, Larkin uses the word, the pronoun, especially we, W-E-V. It is used for the group, the reader, within those about which he is talking. It is about the group. It is about the group of the readers. Larkin believes that all people wherein the reader included have their own obsession with what the future will bring, right? Here in the present, we spend our time for the future and we think of the future at all the times. We are obsessed with the past and future, not the present. There are many people in this world whose mind is obsessed with the past and future, past and future, past and future, not the present. If you ask them the one question, are you there in the present, in the time sphere of 24 into 7? Or you have 24 hours? Are you there in the present? No. It means many people think of the past and they waste their life. They think of the future, they waste their life. Better to live in the present and sense it. Be ecstatic. This is what the poet has suggested. So we can see that he frowns on the habit of expectancy and uses the word bad through the preceding adjective bad. He frowns on this habit of expectancy. This poem acts as a warning to the readers. And the poet repeatedly wants the reader to focus on the present instead of the future. Focus on the present instead of the future. In a simple way, he says one thing: forget the mistakes of the past and press on the greater achievements of the future. It means be work in the present. So here, the habit of expectancy is talked about. So the future is coming, the future is approaching, the future is near. It's ever nearing future. This is a key factor of Philip Larkin's poem. Next, please. So he says that the future is always approaching to you. You draw yourself nearer every day. The always approaching future draws nearer every day. Yet we are impatient of this slow daily process. We are fed up of the present. We are fed up of the present because we are impatient about the future. Yet we are impatient of this slow, monotonous process in the present. So he uses the words like every day, till then, suggest closeness between the present and future. At the line, break actually serves to drive apart the two concepts. Till on a new line is emphasized here in this poem. The far off impossibility of the future is described through the ambiguous word. The future seems to be unpredictable. The future is far away from the present. The future is impossibility. And this has been highlighted by the poet. It is within this line, what the Philip Larkin says, till then we say that a glimpse of Larkin's depressing view is revealed. Yeah, Philip Larkin's depressing view is revealed when he says, till then we say. Larkin suggests that the future is not close at all. The future is not close at all. Time waiting for its arrival is time wasted. The future is not with you. The past is with you in the form of a memory. Past means memory, right? Present is reality, right? And the future is imagination, right? The present is reality, past is memory, and the future is just imagination. So here it is within this line, then till we say that a glimpse of Larkin's depressing view is revealed. Larkin suggests that the future is not close at all. Future is far away from you. It's not close. We're saying that the future is very near. No. Tomorrow is not future. Maybe the future comes day after tomorrow. And you are wasting your time thinking of the future. And the time you waste for future has been wasted completely. It means the time you spend, the time you lived is time wasted forever. This is a very great and noble thought that Philip Larkin has expressed through this poem. In the stanza number 2, what the poet says. In stanza 2, the poet talks about the extended metaphor, and it starts to take its various shapes. There he uses the sparkling armada of boats is an idealization of the future, right? See, one thing that whenever we talk about the destination, then we can see the future in the destination, and we idolize the future. So in this context, here he talks of the boats and the ships represent possible futures. See, one thing, in whenever we talk about the journey of a ship, it has its beginning, middle, and end. But the future is very near for them. Larkin still talks through the perspective of we, the reader, is drawn into the fascination of the beautiful future, right? Here I am talking to you, I am interacting with you, right? And you are listening to me very carefully. So in our communication, there are some glimpses in our mind that we talk of the future as well. We sense of the future, because after my class I have this duty to perform. You may be thinking that after this class I have some work to do, right? But nobody is in the present. Although we try to get stuck into the chair where we are, but still we are not in the chair. We are drawn towards the future. We are thrown into the past, right? Because our body is in the present. It is neither in the past nor in the future. But there is a very funny character in the body, that is the mind, right? Mind is a very funny character in the mind that never stays in one place, right? It can go anywhere like a wind. So here, this mind is moving so abruptly that it takes you to the past, it takes you to the future. It never makes you to sit in the present. This is very interesting to know, the fact about the mind. That's why, that's why there is a beautiful quotation by Milton about the mind. The mind is in its own place. It can make heaven hell and hell heaven. Right? The mind is in its own place. It can make heaven hell and hell heaven. So how interesting it is to know about the mystery of the mind. See, if we go deeper and deeper, everything in our body is a mystery, right? Although we write thousands of books, we think over many aspects within, still the answers to the questions is not satisfactory. It demands further interpretations. It demands further rethinking and reflection into the world of unknown. So here, in this sense, here the reader is drawn into the fascination of the beautiful future. Man is fascinated by the future, by the beautiful future. Indeed, the imagery of sparkling and the grandeur and the armada elevate the beauty of these future promises. So here what the images that the poet has used, that is sparkling. He used the image of sparkling, the grandeur, armada. So all these images highlight or elevate the beauty of the future, right? What is the future? The future is always promising. Future means hopes only. If I ask you a question, where is the hope? We don't know. I live my life only because of hope, right? HOPE, right? Hope is always promising. Okay. So there is a hope of many things in life. And man proposes, God disposes. It means we are alive only because of the hopes, because of promises, the future promises. And this future is romanticized. The impatience of WE is again shown in this paragraph with two exclamations, right? Here, the poet talks about the eagerness of the future. Larkin, in this poem, creates a division between we and them within this stanza. We is different from them, THEM, them. We, those who passively wait for the future, and the future actively drawing nearer, right? He uses the pronoun we, WEV. So we means those people who passively wait for the future, right? Present makes you active, future is passive, past is passive. So here the people are passively waiting for the future. And the future is actively drawing nearer, right? See here, two words are very important, active and passive, right? Here he says that your waiting is passive. Your waiting is passive. But the future which is approaching you is active. The future which is approaching you so rapidly is always active. This seeming reversal with the future being this thing moves towards us and allows us we to take a passive role. In this fashion, we believe the fact that it's not our duty to chase down the future, right? No great man in this world said so, that only look for the future. Nobody has said so, not to think of the present and past, right? Here, what is crucial is it is not our duty to chase down the future and expect and wait for it to arrive. Right? It means we are thinking of the future unnecessarily. Means we waste our time, we waste our energy, and we waste our present unnecessarily for the unpredictable future which never comes to us. This is the crux of Larkin's argument. This is the core. This is the most important idea, the central idea that one can find it out in Philip Larkin's poem, where he finds frustration, extreme level of frustrations, because he thinks of the future. So here the future, for the future, his depression, separation, frustration, right, makes him go deeper and deeper in the contemplation of the future. how slow they are, how much time they waste, is a picture of humanity denying that it is wasting our time. So here, how slow they are, how much time they waste. So these are the phrases he used. This picturizes humanity, which denies the fact that we are wasting our own time. The future is slow most of the times, and it will take time to reach you. How much time they waste, the people waste here. Instead of taking any responsibility, we blame something else taking a back seat in our own lives, right? Because we want to run away from responsibilities, right? We don't want any responsibilities, and we take a back seat in our own lives, and we blame something else. So let's see what he has said in stanza number 3 and 4. Philip Larkin. Again, 3 stanzas are there. We should go fast. Okay. So what he says in stanza number 3 and 4. These two stanzas hold the notion of romanticization of the future. Larkin describes the harsh reality and punctures this idealization, right? Here he describes the reality. The poet paints a beautiful picture of the nearing ships, ships which are very near to our sight. This represents the glorious future. The future is near, where the ships are nearing. It demonstrates the glorious future. Golden tits is suggestive. This symbolizes wealth, and it is also the sexualization of the future, romanticized right up until the end of this approach. The ship never docks. The future never arrives as we expect, as we desire, as we wish. Right? What we wish, the future should be very close. Mr. Shukhad, you may be thinking that my future should be very near, right? Because you think of the future. You think to be a very great person in your life. You have your own dreams, right? So in this way, you want to march forward in the future. So although the future arc towards we, it never anchors the disappointment palpable. The poet's disappointment is palpable as he uses the words which refers to the future, that is arc towards we. Philip Larkin uses negative semantics like wreckage, disappointment, never to describe the bitter realization of we. He expresses the words like wreckage, semantics, disappointment, never. So these are the words of negation. These are the words of frustration, negativity, right? And this demonstrates a very bitter realization of we. See, man's mind is of two things, right? It's positive and negative also. Mind's Man's mind is optimistic and pessimistic as well. And we always try to kill the pessimism and boost our optimism. This is quite natural. So, what they have been waiting for has eluded them. We have realized all too late that the present has turned to the past. The poet suggests that the time slips through your fingers if you are constantly fixed on the future. Right? You think of the future means you waste your present time. The romanticization of the unknown future is toxic. Right? We think of the future romantically about the unknown future, unpredictable future is toxic. It draws focus away from the present. So let's see what the poet has said in stanza number 5. This stanza number 5 is also introspective. Here again, the poet relies on the pronoun we. He talks about how we expect the future to arrive and bring us what we desire. But this is not the case. We are wrong. The grammatical isolation of the line, for example, but we are wrong is a moment of clarity within next. See here, the poet says one thing, that we are wrong to talk about this, talk about the next. But this is not the case. We are wrong. The grammatical isolation of the line, but we are wrong, is a moment of clarity within next. Please. We are those who romanticize the future. This is the present. This is the reality. This is a flash of present preceded by an end stop coming at the end of the stanza. So here the poet gives a solemn emphasis on this. In this poem, we come across short monosyllabic sentences which are used by the poet. The poet talks about depression or some images after the beautiful imagery of the last few paragraphs we can see. He has used so devoutly. There is a double use of this phrase. So long he uses all these things, summarize the issue in focusing on the future. So we in the future, in the poem, spend so much time idolizing the future, they forget to think about the present. A whole lifetime wasted by waiting for something that never comes. Right? Here, you should not waste your time in waiting only. And we wait for the future which never comes. So let's see what he has said in stanza number 6. This is the last stanza, I think. Last stanza. So in stanza number 5, we have seen the somber tone of the poet. And this stanza mirrors the harsh reality of life. What is the harsh reality of life? That is the death. That's why William Shakespeare has also rightly said, beware of yourself, the death may come to you through thousands of doors and windows, right? This is absolutely unpredictable. We cannot say anything about death. Right? This is a mystery to the man. Right? Suppose I say, oh God, I want to live longer. I don't want any death in my life. Right? There is no exemption for me. The God is not giving any chance. The chance is not for the poor, not for the rich. This is equal to each and everyone. This is the harsh reality of life, which is absolutely unavoidable. So, here, this death, the notion of death, is inevitable to all of us, to the mankind. So, bleak, right? At this point in this poem, the illusion of the future has been shattered. The illusion of the future has been shattered. And the extended metaphor of shapes is subverted into one describing death. So while we have been waiting for the sparkling armada of the future, the only thing that has been getting closer is one ship, the black sailed figure of death. This stanza that the poet has presented is bitterly depressing. So in this poem, we come across the sheer still force of death, which is characterized by a huge and breathless silence. The poet uses a daunting and terribly quiet images of death, drawing nearer and nearer to you. The final line, which is also very meaningful, compounds this horrible stillness with the lack of movement. No waters breed or break, attributing to the complete nothingness of death. So death arrives where the future did not. This is quite interesting, right? We wait for the death, we wait for the future. The future never arrives, but the death will arise. The death will come soon, but the future is not going to approach you. We are not going to meet the future. Death arrives, but the future didn't. This is quite interesting to know this fact. So here the poet also talks about the nothingness of death, right? The nothingness of death. So we are alive. I interact with you. We are talking to each other for a long time, right? What is this? This is nothing but our interaction. Suppose there is no life. What is there? Nothing. Nothing means nothing. That's why in Hindi he said, Jaan hai to jahan hai, right? We are alive, that's why everything is there, right? Suppose we get ourselves diminished, or if we finish ourselves, then what is there? What is left in life? Nothing. Do we know where we go after our death? Nothing. Just all is the theoretical assumptions, philosophical speculations, which are only promising and convincing the human mind to rest in silence. So, to conclude this poem, the poet says one thing, that the romanticization of the future is a dangerous game. That's why never go for that. Never think of romanticizing the future, which is a very dangerous game. It's very dangerous to romanticize the future. Larkin urges the reader to break out of the we and to grip the present and not let go. In a simple words, I can say that the poet Philip Larkin says that hold the present, grip the present, hold the present firmly and never allow it go out from you. And he expects us to break out of the we Depressing or enlightening? I am not so sure. The poet again emphasizes or focuses on the notion of depression and enlightenment. Look at these two words. The present may not be enlightening one, or it is may not be a depressing one. The present may be a combination of both, but we have to lead our life so confidently in the present instead of the future. So here in this manner, the poem is for her. I think we have been talking about this poem for a long period. I think 1 hour left. I think. Okay. So before I finish this lecture, I want to uh, put forth a few
Yes, sir.
beautiful quotations about the future. It will take 2 minutes. Okay. Then we will finish our.
Okay, sir.
Okay.
Okay.
So as we are talking about the future, I would like to share a few ideas about the future said by many great
Mhm.
people in India and abroad as well. So
Okay.
Mohandas Karamchand Gandhi, Mahatma Gandhi says about the future. What he says, the future depends on what you do today. Okay. Mahatma Gandhi says,
Okay. Mm.
the future depends on what you do today. Your action in the present is very important. That symbolizes your future. There is one more beautiful quotation by Albert Camus. So Albert Camus, who talks about the future, what he says, real generosity towards the future lies in giving all to the present. This is by Albert Camus from his book Notebooks, written in 1935 up to 1942. What he says, that the real generosity towards the future lies in giving all to the present. You will be a true person if you give your full time and energy for the present only, not the past, not the future. So this is very important that you should give everything to the present instead of the future. Your present will
Future.
make your future, right? The present will make your future. So there is one more quotation by Pope John Paul II, who says, the future starts today, not tomorrow. This is a very interesting quotation. The future starts today, not tomorrow. This is what Philip Larkin has said in this poem. Where is the future? The future means today. Today is your
Mhm.
future. And there is one more beautiful quotation by Master Ogway, who says, yesterday is history, right? Yesterday is history, tomorrow is a mystery, and today is a gift. That's why they call it present. It's a beautiful quotation.
Yes,
Yesterday
sir.
is history. Whatever has happened is history. Tomorrow is a mystery, right?
Yes.
And today is a gift.
Mm.
That's why they call it present. Okay, I say that I have brought you a gift, we say. Gift means present. Another word for gift, that is present. So present and gift, these are the synonyms, the similar words. So that's why Master Ugwe has rightly said about this. Today is a gift, that's why they call it present.
Present.
There is a last quotation about this is by Gay de Maupassant, the complete short stories of Gay de Maupassant's part 1, in which he has said his ideas very brilliantly. What he said, the past attracts me, the present frightens me because the future is death. This is very important what he says. The past attracts me. So let me ask you a question. Is there anyone who can live without the past?
No, sir.
No. Is there anyone who can live without the past? No.
No one.
Is there anyone who is very fearless in the present?
No, sir.
No.
No.
Everyone is fearful. Okay.
Yes, sir.
Everyone is fearful. So here, the present frightens me. That's why our mind is occupied with many fears because the future is death. And the future is death. So we think of the future means we think of the death. Okay, we stop here.
Yes,
Thank
sir.
you very much for your cooperation.
No, sir. Okay. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.